Okay, welcome everybody. New episode of Trenny and C. What do we have today?
Today we have, if you've been watching our coming attractions, you'd know we have Highland Park 10-year-olds.
Yes.
You should probably stick around and find out what separates this from the 12-year-old.
Or the 18-year-old.
And not necessarily in a good way either.
Or the rest of the range, basically.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Trenny and C, drinking whiskey, describing all the flavors for you and me. Irish, Scotch, bourbon, and rye. If they like a bottle, they'll tell you why. Okay, so we do have the Highland Park 10-year-old.
I guess I put it back on the floor.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but...
This guy isn't available everywhere. I know it was at some point a release for Canada, and it was also a release in Holland. So this is kind of like the... I feel like what happened was the prices were getting a little bit high because of the companies that were buying all the Scotch whiskies. Mm-hmm. So Highland Park decided to put out a bit more of an affordable version. And
for markets that get gouged?
Yeah, for markets like us in BC that get gouged on their alcohol.
Oh, wow, I overpoured myself.
Just pour me up. Yeah,
pour a little on the floor there? Yeah. Some for my friends?
One for the... Yeah.
For the homies?
For the homies. Okay, anyways. So this one, the 10-year-old, it's only bottled at 40%, so it's kind of like a standard bottling of Scotch, but it's a good one.
Yeah. So as per usual, we're going to cover color, nose, taste, finish, and viscosity. Mm-hmm. A perfect score for Trenny and C is 33.33. We've seen a few comments lately saying, what the hell is with your score? I'm used to the out of 100 kind of deal.
Yeah.
Just to refresh people, we've got our own score. It covers color, nose, taste, finish, and viscosity, with a little bit more weight given to nose, color, nose, taste, finish, and viscosity.
Yeah.
Sorry. With a little bit more weight given to nose, taste, and finish, and a little less weight given to color and viscosity. And that's for a couple of reasons. Wow, I'm really rambling here. Color can be tampered with, at least in the Scotch world.
It can be, yeah.
And viscosity can be, well, who cares about viscosity?
Yeah,
really,
it's
right?
a tough one.
Yeah.
In the Scotch world, it's actually easier to determine viscosity, I find, than bourbon. Anyways.
So a perfect score is out of 33.33. We'll give you the score in a little while. So
let's see where this one stands. So...
we have already reviewed the Highland Park 12-year-old, too, so if you haven't watched that review, you should probably check that out, maybe do a little comparison on score.
Exactly, because there is a pretty big difference between the two. So, for myself, one of my favorite whiskeys in the history of the world has always been Highland Park 12-year-old. I love that one. Mm-hmm. So, when I saw this on the shelf for about, $15 cheaper, I was pretty excited, and I've tried this bottle a few times, but it does stand up for bang for your buck for Scotch in BC.
But not to mention that the price of Highland Park has gone dramatically up over the years. I mean, the Highland Park 18-year-old now sits behind lock and key in most
and it's
most liquor stores around here. It's over $200.
Yeah, upwards of $200. The 12-year-old now is around $80 or higher. So this guy comes in, I think, at $52 or somewhere in there. Which is...
It's pretty much on par with the Lidditz and Fiddix.
Yeah, so I think they're kind of trying to release it that way. Yeah. So it's a little bit more of an everyman's drinking whiskey. Yeah.
Anyway. Should we shut up?
Yeah, we should shut up. Tell us about the color of this one.
Color is... I'm going with golden straw on this.
It is. It does have like a kind of a dark honey color to it too.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of floaty action going on in there.
A little bit. They do.
Somebody, sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Somebody commented on us not talking about non-chill filter in one of our videos. Is this? Are we talking about a non-chill filter here?
It doesn't say it the way I kind of determine it. Sometimes we don't bring it up because it doesn't say it anywhere on the label, and so I think it's kind of like the contract or whatever.
If they're not talking
If
about
they're not talking about it, you might not. But I have researched a little bit, and Highland Park claims that at least their color is 100% natural. Doesn't say it anywhere, I don't think. I haven't really looked at this label too hard. But yeah, it doesn't say it anywhere there.
Research is happening as we speak.
Anyways, we should probably nose and stuff too.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Worst video ever.
Yeah. So this one for me does have a lot more of the honey flavors that Highland. It still smells like a Highland Park, but it is a little bit more
signature smell.
Signature smell, but it does have a bit more of the honey, and it's a little bit more light and crisp. I'd say
it's a bit grassy, a bit oaty.
Yeah.
Oats. Oaty.
Oaty.
It's not a word, but oaty. It has an oat.
It reminds me of like damp oats and damp feed.
Kind of musty a bit.
A little bit musty. And instead of that, like a lot of the time, especially with the Highland Park 12-year-old, you get the leather, the old kind of like worn out couch leather. Where this one I find it's more like new belt, plasticky.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't smell that old leather, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit more subtle. There is still like that a bit of a
herbal and spicy too.
Herbal and spicy. A little bit of that peat is in there.
A little bit of apple pear too. A little bit of fruit.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot going on there.
It's
a good nose. It's got a nice nose.
It's got quite a bit going on. Yeah, let's try it.
Let's taste this bad boy.
Mm-hmm. So it does instantly have that Highland Park recognizable flavor. Yeah. There's just something that's not as thick or full about it. It's a little bit of a lighter bodied version. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's due to the fact that it's 3%, I think 3% or 3% less than the regular 12.
That's only 40%.
Yeah, so that could have an influence there.
I instantly get of that minerally kind of taste, which I get out of a lot of scotches. But
yeah, like a fresh snow kind of.
Yeah, it's got a fresh snow kind of rain dampness to it. It's also sweet, but like you said, it has a creaminess to it. Yep. You know, it's got a bit of a flow.
Creamy, kind of honey, a little bit of like that lemon tart, but also a lot of the time on whiskeys you get kind of a bakery kind of taste to it, and this has like a pie crust kind of thing on a lemon tart, I find.
Yeah, a little bit of honey and spice. I don't know why. But this Highland Park always reminds me of Drambuie, and I don't know if that's just because we used it in our
Rusty Nail.
Rusty Nail.
It's a good one for Rusty Nail. This one actually also I feel like would be really good in a old fashioned. Because it has that honey kind of flavor to it.
A Scotch fashion.
Yeah.
All right, on to finish. Talk to me about the finish. What are you getting there?
So I do find with Highland Park, one of the things that, especially the 12-year-old, they like to claim that it encompasses all the different regions of Scotland, because there's a little bit of the honey and the Highlands and the Lowlands and the peat and the smoke. And so for the finish, I do get the tobacco kind of smoke more on the finish than I do up front.
Yeah, and I have a mild char as my kind of finish note. It leaves a bit of a bitterness on the aftertaste. Not dryness, but bitterness, and that I think is related to the char that I'm.
So yeah, you get a bit more of the cask influence in the finish, which is kind of cool.
And maybe because it's a bit younger, you know.
So it's a bit younger, so yeah, for sure.
So viscosity.
It is so. How we were saying earlier, like with these everyday whiskeys like Glenlivet and Glenfiddich and stuff like that, and I feel like this is kind of like they're trying to produce a product like that. Yeah. A lot of the time with those, the viscosity is kind of light and crisp, and it doesn't stick to your palate for very long. And I kind of feel like this is trying to do that same sort of thing.
I was thinking it was a bit thin.
Like I'd say it's a little more oilier than those sort of ones, but it's still doesn't stick around for
it's not
forever.
As full body.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, it's a damn good whiskey, and I think a lot of people that are just starting on whiskey, on Scotch specifically, might want to, after they've done Glenlivet and done Glenfiddich and stuff like that. I mean, I would still probably go for the Highland Park 12-year-old to get the full kind of idea of what this distillery is about, but
it's priced right for a starter.
Exactly.
And you're getting a good nose, you're getting nice flavors, you know, and it's not as It's not as aggressive as a lot of other scotches, like for a starter, right?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
so it's a good starter whiskey.
So here's a question. For something to be legally considered whiskey, Scotch whiskey, it has to be bottled at least 40%. So now when I'm adding water to a 40% whiskey, is it not considered whiskey anymore?
Is it illegal?
Is this illegal?
Please don't comment on that.
Anyways, it's adding the water does open up the flavors. I do get the honey sweetness and the lemon a little bit more forward. And that kind of, what do you call it? The heather kind of honey thing.
The herbal piece. Yeah. Talk digits to me.
All right, so I gave it a 25 right on the nose there.
Wow.
And you gave it a 24.33, which comes to 24.66. That's a reasonable score. I mean,
especially for the price, and we're talking about a 10-year-old here, so it's not. That's right in the ballpark for what you should probably expect.
For sure.
It didn't blow our mind.
No, it's a good one, but it's not insanely amazing.
No.
I mean, that's being fair. It's good. I'd buy it again.
Yeah.
In fact, I have bought it again. So. But we'll see, because we are going to do a run of a bunch of 10-year-olds pretty soon. So where does it stand up in the run of 10-year-olds?
But you can't buy $100 bottle of Scotch every week, right? Like, you have to... Well, some people can't. We can't. But, so you have to be able to find these daily drinkers, if you want to call it that, right? Like, those good bottles, and I think this is in that range.
I'd say so, for sure, yeah. So, go out, get yourself a bottle, tell us what you think, if we're right or wrong, that's awesome. Anyways, cheers! Trenny and C.